in Houston. More importantly, we are really, really fortunate to have Mobeds in Houston. In fact, just today we were talking, we might have the largest number of Mobeds in any one location in North America, in Houston.
I think I might have to change
We'll decide those numbers. One of the largest.
One of them.
Yeah, that may be better.
We're talking of real moments.
That can be part of the Q&A actually. The thing is, big part of keeping our religion fresh and rejuvenated, and really to provide the community a source of religious information and a feeling is what this is all about. So we've got three Mobeds here. Zubin, Kotwal, a senior industrial engineer for a supply trading company. He travels the world to source components, wood components actually for cabinets and all kinds of other construction projects. We've got Bahrom Firozgary. Bahrom is a medical doctor, currently doing his residency at Memorial Hermann right here in Sugar Land. And Noshir Khumbatta, a graduate of the University of Houston and interested in supply chain and logistics topics. So, welcome. So let's keep this interactive. We've got some index cards in the back and pens. I'd love for the audience to give us questions too as we chat with the Mobeds. Feel free to do that. That'll be easier rather than just standing up and giving us questions. We just had 4 or 5 to start the session. But do think of your own and do ask of the Mobeds. First question we had was, what role should the younger Mobeds play in keeping our religion vibrant in North America? Maybe we'll start with you, Zubin.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. So, thinking about the question a little bit, I wanted to break it down into smaller parts. At least that's how I think. And this is, again, just wanted to kind of start with the fact that this is our views, our perspective. So if it offends anyone, apologize in the beginning. So a vibrant community, to me at least, what it means to have vibrant followers in the community, meaning a vibrant human being, and what exactly consists of that. At least to me, vibration comes from inside, it doesn't come from outside. So a vibrant soul essentially is what I consider as a vibrant human being, which then forms a vibrant community in North America. When I think about that, and when I think about that connected to our religion and our prayers, I feel that there's a fundamental lack of understanding of what our prayers mean, what they represent. We know what it represents, but it's written in the Augustan language, which is so old, and it's ancient, and it's difficult to understand or integrate, at least to the younger generations like me and my colleagues here. So having that said, if I understood what I prayed, Hashem and Taweri and Kemna Mazda, and I understood how I'm communicating to Aura Mazda, I would have much more conviction. I would have much more vibration from the inside. I would be positively enlightened to say, this is what I'm praying to you, Aura Mazda. This is what I'm asking from you. This is what I'm, requesting from you. So that would definitely automatically increase my vibration from the inside. So having prepared for this, I did a little bit of research online and found that when I went into depths of the internet, yes, I found meanings and I found representations and what things mean, but it's difficult. And having that said, if it's there, it's difficult to understand. If we understand, how do you relate it to our day-to-day? So, but in other religions, we have this. We have, we have the Bible study. We have, schools that relate what the religion preaches and what we pray and what it means into day-to-day life. How can you be a better human being? I feel, at least my perspective, we lack that, and we can do better at it. We do some of it, like these, sessions we have with experts that we bring in, and we've done a lot, but we can possibly do more. So when our people in our religion pray with conviction, with vibrations, with positivity and understanding what a religion means, and all this knowledge transferring down, I feel that increases the vibration of the community itself, and we become more vibrant in North America. That increases our presence, and people around us start recognizing who we are. So that's my perspective. Thank you.
Thanks, Zubin. Bahrom?
Okay. So again, I'm Bahrom Firozgary. I think I've actually been blessed and humbled to be a part of many of these sessions before. These are topics that come up a lot. And we always say, yeah, let's know what we're praying. Let's do this, let's do that. But then it's all sort of this general talk, and we need to know, okay, specifically what can we do? And we do have Sunday school. We do have these great events that people put on, and that I know it's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes, and we come in here and just say a few things and then go back to our daily lives. So when does the specific change take place? I think for me personally, as PCS, so now that I touched earlier, we can have, so Soli Destler is a Mobed in Florida who translates our prayers to the T. And if we can sort of incorporate at a youth level, maybe get them involved, have that role, that purpose. Hey, when the Mobeds are praying, we can be in charge of a PowerPoint. Suresh Collector, our Sunday school teacher, used to try and implement that. And that's just a start. I think it's great to have the ideas, but as youth, we have to start doing. And I've been saying a lot for a while, so I'm trying to do more. I've been going to some of the annual national conferences in North America. We have one in New York in the summer. And again, all the ideas are there, we just need to get the next step forward. So I think one of those is okay, specifically, let's get the meanings of prayers up here. Noshir and I were talking earlier when we pray our custody. It's a ritual, but there has to be meaning to these rituals. So adding that meaning objectively is good. Another thing for me personally, a sense of community. I've always felt like I've had something to fall back on in this direction community. It's given me leadership, it's given me my identity in a community where we're not, yes, I'm 6'9", I'm not the most common person that you might see anywhere, but especially being Zoroastrian, especially being part of a community where we're not the common folk. And even in India or Iran or Pakistan, wherever we grew up, we always have that sort of uniqueness to us. And it doesn't have to be a thing that we feel bad. When we're younger, you want to be like everyone else, you want to be this and that. But we can have that here, and I did have that. And it let me be a leader by embracing that. So I think we can keep the youth involved by giving them these leadership opportunities, involve themselves outside the center with volunteer events, they can put on their resumes, keep them involved at that level so they can see that, hey, look, religion isn't just one part of life. It is this all-encompassing thing that you can use with everything else. And it's helped me. I'm a doctor. I am still social. I can talk about religion with anybody. I might not be the most, there's a lot of experts in here that know a lot more than I do, but I know what it has done for me and what I can do for others. And I think that's what we can focus on.
Thanks, Bahrom. Noshir, your thoughts?
Sure. I'm Noshir Khumbatta, and I think one aspect that I really like is the idea of audience participation in a judgment. I think if you can focus on having an interactive approach to religion, you can gain a lot more traction that way. It really just comes down to not boxing people in and just allowing them to think for themselves. With our religion, we tend to have people think a certain way, or we want to have people think a certain way. But overall, I think just allow people to come to the religion on their own. About an hour, we were standing in the foyer, and a gentleman who had come up to us I hadn't seen in 10 years, and he asked me, is there a way that I can get involved in this? I'm across state lines, but is there a way I can get involved in this? And I've never had any Zoroastrian friend of mine ask me about that. This is someone I haven't seen in 10 years come back. So I think what I'm getting at is just allow people to come back on their own. Don't box them, don't pressure them. They'll come back. It's a beautiful religion. There's obviously a reason for them to come back.
Great thoughts. Thanks, Noshir. I don't see any questions being written down, but if you do have some, please do pass it on. You're waiting on a question? Well, let's hear it. So, Saroj? So Mobeds have always been the teachers and religious leaders of our community. How would you change that if you had the opportunity? Teachers and religious leaders, and how would you change that if you had the opportunity?
That's actually an interesting debate, because at this previous meeting I went to, not a debate, it's a perspective that who's leading our religion? Like who, we have Izana, we have local chapters, we're a religion that has logistical, legislature there, but as priests, back in the day, I think we were the political heads. And I think it's a balance of it all. As for teachers, sort of what he was saying, I think, it's a specific question for any broad topic. There's Mobed yards, so like training Mobeds. They don't have the capabilities of all Mobeds, but in the Persian community, it's common to where, because they have a lack of numbers, women, non-priestly family members can participate and pray and help out with local events. Can I get the question one more time just to make sure I answer it?
So, teachers and religious leaders of our community, how would you change that if you had the opportunity?
Okay, so yes, with that being said, I think as Mobeds, we have to allow that. We have to be, just like society is dynamic, we have to be dynamic. We don't have to change who we are. We don't have to, and when people hear, be adaptive, that's sort of like, that means what are we going to change? Don't be too progressive. But no, it just means that we have to be interactive. Use, we have Z camps now that was started here in Houston. That's a method to teach. You have fun, you have a sense of community, but then you also plug in the things, the agenda that you have. We have a beautiful facility in the Atishkan. They're bringing people from everywhere to teach them specifically about prayer, specifically about religion. We have Sunday school once a month, or room for more maybe, to talk about maybe logistical, lecture-based learning. But at the end of the day, it's going to be our job to act by example with interactive prayers, if it's putting meetings up on the board, having these beautiful facilities to do it. And lectures like these, I guess, we need to get our age people out here too, because I think that's the target we're trying to pull in. I hope that answered the question. I just think as priests, we have to be more adaptive. We don't have to necessarily believe and agree with everything, but be open to the fact that people are not going to have the same opinion as us.
Great, thank you. Let's move on to the next question, and then maybe I'll come back to the questions from the audience. How has your Mobed training, guys, changed the way you view our religion? You do realize, in fact, you may not know, but Noshir and Bahrom were in Mumbai at the same time, along with, I think, at least another 4 or 5 others, including a couple from Houston. They spent a whole month doing their training. Bahrom spent even more because he had a more rigorous training. So, Noshir, maybe we start with you on how that has changed your view of the religion.
So the Mobed training was an interesting point in my life. I was about 13 or 14 learning the prayers, and I wasn't really focused on the translations as much as just learning the rhythm and the cadence of the prayers. And I didn't think much of it. I just did the prayers as a kid growing up. But after doing so many, maybe close to 1,000 junctions, I think what I've focused on is the ritual side of our religion. Everyone enjoys doing small things like, everyone doesn't enjoy doing these things, but like these monotonous tasks like dishwashing, you just do them and you think about other things while you're doing them. And even in doing a jushan, like while you're doing a jushan, it can be so calming and peaceful, and it's an enjoying experience that I think other people should be able to appreciate and get involved in. So the main thing was that I learned to like focus more on the ritual side of the religion and not so much more on the other aspects.
So yeah, I had so interesting, my grandfather is a Fusli priest, so he trained in Iran. And there you have to know the language. There's more than just the prayer side. There's things that you do as a baseline as a person, as a priest, knowledge of religion, not just the prayers. And since I didn't speak Farsi, I couldn't do that. So I went to do the Kutmi training, which is an extra 14 days tapped on. to I think the Shen Chai one. For me, I think an objective point in the moment, we had this legacy we wanted to carry out. And for me at the time, I was this 8th grader going to a country where I didn't speak the language. I know a little bit Tolu Gujarati. I'm a Persian ethnically guy going to India. So I'm a middleman everywhere. And the moment you're like, and for those who don't know, the process is if you look at it from the outsider in. So I feel like I'm in a society where we're that. Everyone looks at us as this unique religion that. So there too, if you would just have a random person in a Yankees t-shirt, like on the picture we saw, come in and see you, a naked kid sitting on some stones, drinking bull urine, it's strange. And I didn't know anything different. But now looking back, yeah, it's the ritual side of it. I think you're not drinking bull urine, you're sort of embracing the concept of sterility, of pureness. And there were things that they did back then for different reasons. Urine can have these antiseptic effects if it's fresh. The medical degree helped me learn that. But anyway, what I'm saying is, what it's done for me is that, in the moment sometimes, we might not get what we're doing. Like when we're kids, we're told to do something. And with that, I guess, naive trust that, okay, there's a big reason why we're doing it. And I think if we can do that as leaders, as priests, as teachers, and have that message for youth, just like we did as priests, at the end of the day, it's worth it. So it was a shock in the moment, and now I'm so grateful. I wish I could have a month where I'm just in this holy environment, just with myself and the prayers, tuning into who I am, our religion. So it's a really great experience that we're fortunate to be part of.
Thanks. We're getting a lot of questions, so apologies if I do not get to your question. Thanks to the kids, actually. We've got a couple of questions from our even younger Zoroastrians. First one, should we not pray if we don't know what we are praying?
I think that's a very interesting question. Because for the longest time, I think most of us have prayed, even though we don't know what it means. And many of us have made the effort to understand what we pray. Google's great. But no, I don't think so, because if you're praying, it is a communication of the person or who's praying to Aura Mazda. So you don't want to stop talking to Aura Mazda, because in our religion, prayers is the mode of communication to Lord Aura Mazda. So I think it should be more on the side of taking the effort to understand what we are praying, because then our religion truly becomes beautiful. Our religion truly then seeps into the mind and the body as to what you're doing and why you're doing this. For example, I looked it up a while ago, but this is a good example. When we do drashan, okay, and the priest, there's a main priest and the helping priest when we do the drashan, and then we have the flower ceremony. So there are 2 flowers on the bottom, and then there are 3 on the right and 3 on the left. So all of that symbolizes life itself, because the 2 flowers on the bottom symbolizes the dualism that we explain in our religion: life and death, afterlife. The 3 flowers on the right, when the priest is praying and picking them up, is basically picked up from top to bottom. And that symbolizes our soul that comes from the other side of the world to our world. And then when you pick up the left side flowers, it goes from bottom to the top, which symbolizes the soul going back from this world to the spiritual world. So our religion is very beautiful, and it's very logical, it's very symbolic, it's very scientific. We just have to make the effort, as Bahrom said, in 21st century, we have so many technological tools at our fingertips. We have YouTube, we have live streaming, we have things that we can display while we're doing darshan. We can have explanations of what the fruit tray represents, why we cut the top of the fruit, before we start doing the darshan. So everything is done for a reason. We pray for a reason. Everything symbolizes something. So instead of stop communicating to the Creator, we should find a way to understand what we communicate.
Great, thank you. Question from the audience: how do we involve more youth, especially to participate in religious events?
That's actually I think, one of the questions too. So that's I wish I had an answer to be doing it. I think that's what we're figuring out. I think it's everything we're touching on, like meaning, adding meaning to everything in life and how whoever asked the question of, oh, do you know your prayers? I don't know every single prayer. I think you can start off with, okay, like a Tandurusi, if you want to bless your family, people through. Just know that one liner. And then it's not like when you study for a test, you're not going to know everything, but the intent is there to know everything. That's the way you can approach it. To get more youth involved, I think we as a society, like Noshir said, we can't box people in or out. We are all the same. I think that's like a hippie thought, but no, like we have to have the intent of being accepting and open, and even if people don't agree with us, at least be willing to accept that. You were talking earlier, I used to come to Sunday school, no offense, social. I came for the basketball events afterward, like the football we played after, the sense of being, I had a great, looking back, I learned in the sessions, but that sense of community brings us, and I think that's why other religions are so successful. A, it's a game of numbers. There's more of them out there, but they have these sort of weekly events, like they'll have, not Bible study, but like hangouts with the religion. And I think our younger generation now, they do that. They hang out outside of school, outside of class. So that's another way of having that sense of community, specific events that aren't just Sunday school or whatever. And I think we're doing that a little bit better by having Z-Camp, by having volunteer events, having stuff that can benefit. Again, not just religion. Religion's great, but we have so many other things in our life that it should be able to be spread to those as well. And if we can incorporate those events, that's great. It doesn't have to be here. This is a great facility, but we can go somewhere more central with other people too.
Thanks. Mobeds need to involve the participants. How do we do that, especially during our ceremonies? Second, kind of related, is to Mobeds need to give sermons. Do you intend to fulfill that need? Noshir?
So for the first part, I think it's important that we do start having audience participation sessions, like AP sessions, where how you mentioned we have a main priest and a helping priest, and the helping priest has a smaller role, but that role can also be fulfilled by everyone in attendance. And I think that is something that could really change the way that people perceive a Jushin as not just something where they're dozing off and something that they can actually get involved in. Could you repeat that second part of the question? Sorry.
Also being ministers and sermons, how are you planning to do that? Or should we plan to do that?
I think it is an important thing to approach, but at the same time, I don't feel that people should be told how to practice their Ashranism. They should find it on their own. So I'll leave it to you all now.
So, can I add something?
Sure.
So, I don't exactly know, I'm not going to go to the textbook meaning of sermons, but I do feel one part of what other religions do really well is what we could also do is we can basically take what we pray or what we have in our holy books and relate it to the 21st century in forms of examples, how to cope with, loss of life, how to cope with stress, how to cope with anger, how to cope with different facets of our day-to-day life. I think that's going to really attract the younger generation to come in because this is what we face today. We have a 16 hours a day with emails following us back home. We do, in today's world, we do family planning rather than family proliferation. We think, oh my God, I have to be well settled, I have a house, I have to have a car before I can even think of getting married. Did all of that exist in Cyrus the Great's era? No. At that time it was free will. You did what you want. You went home when you want, right? You were not, working. You were not a slave of the computer. So the day and age has changed. So we need to, as a religion, be able to relate that to what's happening today out there. So if we can take our religion, the holy text and the verbiage and relate that to what we as youth and as people in the society face, that would be, I think, a very good attractive point.
Thanks. In fact, I just wanted to add something to what Noshir said about audience participation in Jashan. How many of you know that at the end of the Jashan, the Mobeds pray 21 yatas and 12 ashengos? I see hands going up. Excellent, guys. That's an easy way to participate in the Jashan. What we'd like to do is actually next time you do that, I'll wave or we put up a sign so you know when to do that. And you can pray along with the Mobeds. When they're picking up the flowers, it's a very simple set of prayers. Maybe you can pray along with the Mobeds. That I think is way better than just sitting for 60 minutes without any interaction.
In Iranian Jashan, all Mobeds, Iranian Mobeds, make us do the Yatash and that many times.
Perfect.
They give the signal, with the numbers of the hand, and everybody goes.
So we'll start that. It's right at the end of the Jashan when the Mobeds are finishing up.
This is more thing. This was discussed at a meeting, and this is not mine. This was just discussed. Another thing that's been talked about is shortening the Jashans in general. Instead of 3 entire prayers, you basically would just do 2 instead of 3. And for those who know the process, that's maybe an objective thing you could do. Some people pray faster, some people pray slower, and again, that's a controversial thing that at the beginning might cause some frills, but again, that's another thing that could be resorted to because we don't understand everything that's being heard. And if I'm just sitting there after a long day of work, I can see it being monotonous.
Question again from the audience. How many of you have done a comparative study of our religion with others? And if yes, what stands out that differentiates it?
Well, I haven't done a comparative study, but I think what we've been so far partly on comparative relatively to our peers, what I've noticed is that we're a small community, logistically we're small, but I think they have a lot more we have a sense of community, but they have a lot more just activities at a baseline that involve just non-religious stuff, and I think we could be good with that too. As for the tenets of religion, I think we have the most beautiful religion. We are so simple to follow, it's so easy to fall back to a baseline. We all have that inherent choice to make, and honestly, every religion has that. They just go into way more details, but Nosh might have more specifics.
I was just thinking about this earlier. There's this idea of prescriptive religions and prospective religions, and I kind of think that our religion is more of a prospective religion. We don't have commandments. We're not like an Abrahamic religion. So I guess if you're gonna do a comparative study and focus on our religion compared to others, it's probably not the best to put us on that pedestal and just say, oh, we're greater than them. But we obviously find that we have a lot of beneficial values in our religion. Other religions can also have those values, but we find that we have a lot more that connect with us. So.
Can I just add to that question? Have you participated in interfaith alliances? And if so, what do you recommend?
I personally have not.
Recommended as for
No, going around to the community and yourself participating
in terms of how we should talk about religion.
in interfaith alliances, interfaith meetings.
That sounds very interesting.
We do have a pretty active interfaith group even within Houston. So even though they may not have participated directly, we do participate. So I think it's a good idea. An interesting question. How would you feel if your co-workers knew that you were a priest? Would that bother you?
No, absolutely not. I think that's more of a pride than anything. Not that we're boasting, but many times I get the surprise, you are a priest? What? Okay, you don't look like a priest. Well, I don't have to look like a priest because at the end of the day, what does a priest look like? I mean, a person who is able to put himself in service for the religion and, pray to the Creator himself, I mean, that's a priest. So yes, in the olden days, they were on a pedestal and they were the political heads and so on and so forth. And now also priests are the direction guides of the religion, but I mean, there's not a face to a priest, so no, I would be extremely proud to be a priest.
We were just talking about this. So, again, outsider in, if someone were to see me in my full-on put and everything, that would be like, oh, they associate that with whatever media has portrayed as that art to me. So as a, there's some pictures of me online, and my friends, they Googled me when they were trying to find something about whatever, and they're like, oh, what is this, or what is that? And, I would gladly, like you said, it's a pride thing. We're privileged, everyone in this room is privileged to be able to communicate, listen to everything that's going on right now. And then to be born into a priestly family, I was just lucky. I was like one in the 100 million to be in that situation. I'm privileged to be here, so I wouldn't care if they know. They do know, like it or not, because the internet's ever growing. And especially with press coverage now, I think we have with the new Khushrav some new segments, and we'll see. They might be televised a little bit. We can only do we can only control what we can control. And I think by spreading knowledge can help. I will say though that sometimes the ritualistic part, when we have to know what we are doing, because if someone asks us, oh, what is this? What does that mean? You better have an answer. And if you don't, then that's when it's kind of, maybe I should do some more learning. But yeah, long story short, I'm proud to tell them, but it is, as a youth, I will say it is sometimes it's not bad. It's not what you think it is. It might look like those guys you see on TV, but no, we're definitely different. It's much better.
Right. Maybe a question that you guys have already answered, but when would you young priests participate in the boys ceremony at our new Adarsh Gare? We would like to see and attend. I think I know the answer. You already have.
Yeah, we already have.
You don't see us with this, right? But yeah.
Maybe it's the challenges of being there. Why isn't it that we see more of you there?
You got to make a living.
So that's it.
You got to make a living.
That's the thing, I think I would gladly do it, feel like pro bono, whatever, but like I have a job. I also have, there are things, again, religion, this whole concept of religion's a one part of my life, and I have other parts of my life. I would never neglect religion. I would try to help, but I have helped out. But that's a work in progress. We'll have an answer for you as we get more involved, because we do have the numbers in that regard.
Maybe your experience when you did the boy ceremony, because I know a lot of you have done that.
It was absolutely amazing. The atmosphere. I'll let Nosh talk about it.
What you may not know is that a couple of our young Mobeds have actually done the midnight boy, which is quite magical, with all the lights turned off, just the Qibla and a few candles lit. That is a pretty cool experience. So maybe you should broadcast it more when that happens next.
Just to add one point, I enjoy doing Jushuns, we all enjoy doing Jushuns, but one thing that I really enjoy is just walking into the Atish, just praying for 15 minutes on my own, maybe speaking to the priest for about 15-20 minutes and going about my day. I think it's important that religion has its own personal note to us. We have such a focus on our social encompassment, which is amazing. This community in Houston is one of a kind. But I think it's important that you allow people to come back on their own religious preference. Come back to the religion on their own so that they can tie into it with what they find means something to them.
Okay, this might be another question from one of our the younger generation. When is a person considered Zoroastrian? Is it when they have their Navjot done, when they know the prayers, when they participate in the Zoroastrian community?
Okay, so in my perspective, and again, this answer could be completely wrong because we have experts here, and we by far are not experts, at least I'm not. But basically, a child, until the Navjot ceremony is considered to be called as a Kurd, which means that he is not still initiated in the Zoroastrian faith. And then when the Navjot happens, the symbolic Sadra and Kasti basically then, symbolizes a child to be part of the Zoroastrian religion. And that's when the child continues the prayers and the Sadra and the Kasti, and then, can become a priest as part of the priestly family by doing the Nawar and the Marta. So that whole thought process kind of goes back into when a child is born, it's of no religion in our faith. It can be anyone. But then, since we consider the parents to be Zoroastrians, we allow that child to then be invested in our religion. So that again goes into the whole other concept of, whether we, as Noshir said, we invite other people or we don't. That's based on our religion faith. So, but that's, I guess, part of the question.
Thank you. What are the essential elements of our faith that you feel we should definitely carry forward? Maybe just one from each of you, and that probably is the last question.
Essential element to keep our faith going would be our community spirit. I think that is the most important thing. We're not like other Sunday services where after lunch people disperse into their small groups, or people go to lunch rather outside of their church place of worship and have lunch with maybe 15 people and go back to the congregation the next week and not speak to 400 people in there. We're a different type of congregation here, and I think that is a really important aspect that will keep our religion flourishing.
To me, in my thought process, and what I've heard yesterday in your lecture, which was fantastic, and today, and Tershi said the same thing, we lack the trickling down of the knowledge coming from where we were to where we are now. For me, truly making the effort to understand our religion and have the mass understand the religion, not the selected few that are the priests and the Mobeds and the scholars. That, I think, will really forward the religion. And I know we keep talking about this and we keep talking about it, but we have ideas now that we can, when we do the drashans, when we do the Navroz table, when we do all of that, we kind of help understand why we do it, what we put on the table, what does it represent, what does the flower ceremony represent, what does the boy ceremony represent. So as Mobeds and as people that we know and we understand the religion a little bit more in depth, we should make that effort to keep that part of the ceremony as to, kind of give a short little speech or just, put it on an iPad, project it up or something like that. I think that, to me, if we keep that continually as a founding part of the religion, that'll take it far.
Yeah, that was pretty covered essentially what I was going to say, but I guess maybe as youth, what we can do is we have so many resources in this room, so much knowledge through life, through learning, and we can have all these great lofty ideas, but we should be able to not only trickle down, but like reach up and ask out. I've been FaceTiming my grandfather more recently, things like that. Technology enables us to be in touch via email, text, talk person if they're here. And I think having maybe some, youth, maybe we could have this is a thought, like a question and answer with leaders in the community to get their perspectives. Because as youth we have the potential, but at the same time, it's the elder generation that has the experience and the knowledge to help us get to that potential.
One more question, sir.
All of you have participated in the session ceremonies and so on, especially during the opening of this session day. Would you consider standing up and explaining what's going to happen, not after the fact, but prior to it? Take 15 minutes and explain this is what we're doing. You don't have to do the whole session ceremony that night, but explain, okay, during this part of the session, this is what we're doing and why we're doing it. Next time around, let's come again and we give you the other part, Okay?
That's a great idea. I think, pieces at a time. I think one, again, yes, logistically, people show up late and stuff, that's fine, but at least the intent is there. The intent is there. So I think, exactly. I think that's a great idea. And after the fact too, if we can keep it objective, I think we run into issues when we say, when it's just factual and short and sweet. I think that's a great idea.
I think
What
we
happened to
are
my question?
Houston Zoroastrians.
Looks like you never
Feel very proud of all these young people here.
and many others.
It's about the evolution of Mobeds.
We are very proud of your thinking and your thought processes and inclusiveness. And we Zoroastrians in Houston should be very, very proud of you three guys.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Can I just ask a question? Yeah.
We're getting short on time.
We talked about everything ritualistically related, which is very, very important. And you guys do a fantastic job at that. You are well trained in Houston for the ritualistic stuff. But my question is, as our community progresses, have you all taken any pulse of the community as to what are the needs of the Zartushti community in future? And how could the Mobed community evolve to meet the needs of the future Zartushti community besides the rituals which you all are great at?
That's a logistically tough question because we're 50 pulses, and everyone has their own thing. So maybe that middle ground that you want to find, sure. I think everyone's gonna have their own. Actually, we talked about this earlier too. It's like with love. There's always gonna be like two sides that people want certain things. I think to be willing to accept what people come to the religion for, I think he's going to know. I don't know if what specific goal.
What is the modern community has psychological needs that the community needs to fulfill, and if the Mobeds understand the psychological needs of the community, they might be able to be good intermediaries when there are problems within families, etc. And that's kind of what I was reaching
And
out.
it might be a question for the NAMC actually. Go on, the last question.
Last question is from NAMC. We would like to see more teaching Mobeds than performing Mobeds only. Up to now, if you see from India, what we came out from was only performing Mobeds. And that season, they were least respected people in the community. And they were the poorest people also. There are two things in India. We don't want this to happen in Canada, USA, especially. We want them to be the teachers. We want them to be the leaders in the community. We want them to be the performing also, but then teaching them what performance is. I give you an example of what you just said just now. Why do we have such a long jashan? Now, Iranians, I've done with Iranian Mobeds, and they do not do the first, what we call the naming of all the kings and all. They do it only once. And that's enough actually. God doesn't have time to listen to all the 3 times. And then they do the 2 Afghans and 2 Faroxes, and that finishes sometimes 35 minutes. And that's what you have to decide as leaders, what to do. You don't have to be told by somebody else. As Mobeds, you have to stand up talk. This is the way we got to do it.
One more question actually from our distinguished speaker. Have you heard any comments, positive or negative, on the way you pray?
I think.
I mean, in the past, or positive or negative comments on the way you pray? So meaning like the performance of the prayer. Yeah, I mean, our prayers.
No, have you heard comments from the congregation is the question. Have they asked you or commended you on the way you pray?
I think, yes, I think it's funny. I think the more criticism comes from like the older priests than the community. They always thank us. They always appreciate, especially the teachings. We've always heard positive feedback with that. I think one comment that I've heard is, and I agree with, is maybe praying more in unison sometimes when it's like, we're all going on our own. It's kind of, when we get in the vibrations, when you can be in sync, then everyone else can be in sync. And it's not a race to finish in time, but I feel like we're pressed for time because it's so long. So I think, if you shorten it, there's more logistical benefits in other ways.
Again, I mean, when we start talking about our basic fundamental prayers of Jashan and stuff like that to be shortened and stuff like that, we need to do it with a certain perspective, with a certain reasoning, because everything in a religion means something. If we do the Tawaris 21 times, it represents something. It is not because at that time people had a lot of time on their hand. It's because it represents something. So, as you said, we need to have leaders that, you know these things in depth, know the perspective and the meanings of what this represents, so we can make an educated decision at the end of the day and evolve with the 21st century. So that's
Well, thank you, everybody. Thanks for all the comments, and thanks to our Mobeds for their thoughts.
If the three of you would just stay here for a minute, I'd like to we come to the end of our sessions. We've had a wonderful day and a half. We've all learned, we were all enlightened. I want to thank the moderators, I want to thank the speakers. We still have the gala that we're going to be meeting tonight. Tomorrow at 10 o'clock we have the informal session, which is going to be started off with Firdosh reviewing Al-Mutanzi's Zoroastrian liturgy, and then we opening it up to the sessions you're invited, and it's going to be a free-flowing thing for question and answers from anybody, so we're looking forward to that. But before, thank you very much for coming and leading. I know we've asked a lot because you've had specific duties that you gave up today to be here this afternoon, and I really want to give you another hand of applause for doing that. I really appreciate it. Some of these questions we asked you are beyond your foray at the moment, but it's good that you've heard them because you are our future leaders, and these are the things that we are expecting of you, and I know you will deliver. So on behalf of the three entities, the Zoroastrian Society of Scholars and Khazana Fires, would you please come out here? Homi and Roynton, would you please come out here too? So I want to recognize our young Evans and Zubin. This is a small token of appreciation from all of us. Thank you very much, Bahrom. A small token of appreciation. And Noshir, thank you very much again. And Quentin, you're going to call Khushrav, and you're going to do Ahmed.
This is a distinct privilege, Kersi, to give our thanks on behalf of the audience. Your talk has been very, very interesting. What you're doing is placing Central Asia on the Zoroastrian map. Not too many of us have known all these things that we have in Central Asia. So far, we kind of felt that most of the things that we have, the artifacts and everything else, the history, is in Iran, but Kersi is putting Central Asia on the map and brought us to think in those terms as the wide area that Zoroastrianism comprised of in earlier times. So, you kind of putting the vision and mission of SSZ, presenting it to the audience, which is to learn, encourage others to learn, and then impart. So that is what we'd like SSZ to be, like these young people. You got to learn and then impart. Just learning is not enough on your own. So it's in our, we recite this so many times in our prayers. Yasnaicha, Vamaicha, Snotraicha, Prasastyacha, which is to learn, contemplate, and impart. And that's what you're doing. So thanks very, very much. And here's the token.
This has been an extraordinary experience for me. SSZ, Russell Association of Houston, Fazana Fires, really come together and made a presentation, invited people from across the Atlantic. Alma, you came over all this way and showed a very meaning of Yashna ceremony yesterday. I was really impressed. I'm sure everyone else was impressed. This is a great learning experience for me and all the people on this side of Atlantic. And today, we really created a vision for all of us. And as a bed-in, I'm not a mobile, I was really learning quite a lot. We wish we have more interactions of this nature, because it is very important that we stay in close touch. Not only just in listening to you, but in also advancing the scholarship which you have promoted at the level at SOAS. We wish we have another SOAS on this side of Atlantic. Thank you very much. We are fortunate to have you.
All of you. Khushrav? Khushrav? Make room. Yeah, Bahrom, you are doing good.
Zubin is not.